you, the Messiah. No offense, Perdre, but that has got to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Why not me?
Have you met yourself? Perdre, you drink, you fight, you like to break people's arms just to hear the sounds they make.
And who doesn't like to do that? Hey, kids, welcome back. This is Preacher versus Preacher. It's a comparison companion. Each week we get together, we compare the TV show Preacher from AMC, the books it's based on from the 90s by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. And I was doing pretty good. I wasn't even reading from the script right there. I was doing that all from memory.
That was a pretty great job, Bill.
That's pretty good. But I'm just going to be honest. That's how honest I am.
Good.
Keeping it real.
I like it.
Dropping the curtain, the fourth wall type thing. Like, you know what I mean?
You're like Deadpool. I like it.
Yeah. I'm talking straight to the camera.
Right.
So, that's what we do. I'm Bill. That's my buddy Dom.
What's up, guys? Welcome back.
You've already heard us. And here we are. If you don't know us, we're from the Wicked Theory podcast. That's a show we do. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, that's what we do. We're podcast guys.
All-around nerd pop culture show, basically, or just break down things of that nature.
That's what we do over there. But over here, we, we're still going. We're still loving it, I think.
Stick just to one thing.
One thing. Nice, simple, easy, clean. No confusion.
You'd think.
Sometimes. You would think.
You would think.
You would think it would be nice and easy.
Yeah.
But,
So this week.
This week.
Episode 7 of Season 3. Can you believe it? Already.
Woo. It's closing in fast. You can see the end of the run.
Yeah, it's
You know
crazy,
what I mean?
man. We're already almost 3 seasons in completely.
It's crazy.
It seems like, I think I said this last week, but it seems like just yesterday that they even announced that AMC was going to get the property and that Rogan and Goldberg were going to be the ones to do it.
It seems just like yesterday we were annoyed.
Well, that too, but...
Or just confused. At that point, we were just like, oh, man, what's this going to be?
Oh, was that when you were watching the episode? Because that was yesterday.
Oh, that's true. But, this is where we loved the books as kids. For you, you were a kid back then, right?
Yeah.
You were like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
More
than that. But...
We've read it. We loved it. We were obsessed with it, and we knew that when this show came to TV, we were going to have to, start another podcast because it was going to consume our other show.
Indeed.
And we can't do that. And why am I recapping? Because you never know. This could be somebody's first episode. Stan Lee used to say that about comics.
I was just going to say, the old Stan Lee approach.
You never know when that issue is going to be someone's first issue.
There you go.
Something like that. Excelsior.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, you can't do a Stan and not say Excelsior. All right. So, so let's get some official business out of the way. We'll see if you don't normally listen to podcasts wherever you're hearing us now. We're everywhere. We're like Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play Music, all that kind of stuff. A lot of other players. Just search for us. Preacher, VS Preacher. Subscribe, rate, and review. Helps us. That helps us a lot. Please consider doing that. We would forever be in your debt. And, maybe one day...
Don't come for my soul, though.
Maybe one day we'll actually read them on the show because there's a few that are quite entertaining about how this podcast used to be.
Yes.
Okay. So, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow Dom at Dom_Torre, Torre. You can follow me at Wicked Theory if you like. You can follow this podcast, Preach VS Preach. Those are our Twitter handles. And you can send us emails. We got a couple emails to get to later. pvp@wickedtheory.com. Sign in with your Twitter handle if you want us to shout that out. And I think we even got one that's got a bit of a grandma story.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, finally.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
I'm going to admit that I did not proofread it all the way.
Okay,
so
that's good.
I don't know what we're in for.
Well, at least it'll be a surprise for you either way.
Right? Like, I can enjoy it too.
Right.
Like, on the first...
Finally, you get to enjoy something. Though.
Oh, my God. Finally, something in life. But one of the emails that we did get was from our friend of the Preacher AMC show. Close personal friend. I feel like me and him were just bowling yesterday, but I don't think we did. It could be in a dream. And if it was, he did the visual effects for it. You like that segue?
I did.
Pulled that out of nothing.
That was beautiful.
So Kevin Lingfelser is a visual effects supervisor at for Preacher, for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and there was something else. Oh, Future Man, is that what it? Yeah, because I watched it on Hulu. Yeah, Future Man, right? Is that? Why am I thinking? Yeah, Future Man. Okay, Future Man on
There we
on
go,
Hulu.
Future Man.
No, I watched it. I watched the whole first season. Me and Bob gave it a glowing
Yeah, no,
review.
I remember you telling me that it was real good. I got to check that out.
But
And I didn't really know. I didn't even know Kevin was working on that. So
No,
now
yeah,
it'll
yeah.
give me even more incentive to check it out.
Yeah, I didn't catch it until recently, like when I was looking at Kevin's Twitter handle.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Which, if anybody cares, it's Fuchi Patas. I'm looking at it right now so I don't forget it. It's FUCHIPATAS.
There you go.
Fuchi Patas. Yeah, so I wanted to give him a big shout out because he sent us an email like a while ago.
Right.
And I kind of forgot about it a little bit because he sent it after the season had ended.
Okay.
He was
last
busy.
season. Right.
His shows get back to back.
Okay.
He had even mentioned it in that email, but he had sent us another email about this week's episode.
Oh, okay.
So
You want to get to that?
yeah, well, I'll tap the old one. You know, he was just saying in that one that he was catching up to the show because he's off season. But he always he sees eye to eye with us on a few things.
Right.
For eagle-eared listeners, who might remember, because we've mentioned that about Kev before. But he's working on multiple shows, man. He ain't got time.
Right.
He ain't got
He's
time.
a busy man.
Going to and from things, maybe. That's probably. I bet you that's when he's listening.
Maybe.
He listens to us as he drives along the coast.
All right.
I'm sorry. Was I digressing too hard?
Don't think about how the man listens to us.
Don't take it too far. Yeah, I probably shouldn't.
Nah. Hey.
Let's not turn this into wicked theory, is what you're saying?
Right.
There
exactly.
you go. I get
because
that's
Jay's
where
just gonna fucking come out of the closet somehow.
Hey, what are you doing? And
Talking about somebody. Who the fuck is he?
what are we doing? Tangents? Yeah. Yeah, this is a tangent-free
We
zone.
doing tangents? I love tangents.
I love tangents. There's nothing but tangents. The wicked tangent theory. Okay, so this week he's just pointing out to us, he threw me an email because I think everybody was missing it, is that this week's episode was actually called Hilter,
Right.
not Hitler.
Right.
Because they're doing that bit on the episode where it's on his name tag. So he just wanted to drop by, a quick line, and just point that out to everybody, just a little FYI. And then he's like, I'm glad you guys enjoyed the Duke and All Father. We got some good things coming up. Keep on preaching. And then he just signs off Kevin. So just a big thanks to him to reaching out to us and for being a fan. You know, it was kind of and enjoying the show. I'm glad that we could entertain you as much as it's cool because you do some crazy shit on that show that entertains the hell out of us.
Absolutely.
And especially this season, you know, that big, you know, hell, seeing all of that stuff in hell
Glorious.
is, you know, he's got it on his Twitter. He's got the sketch, the drawing
Oh, okay.
of the mouth of hell, like when it's got the big like walrus teeth and it's the skull and stuff like that, fire and all that. So that's all his team, you know.
Nice.
So kudos to those guys. The flying stuff,
Right.
that they, you know, looked kind of. I was kind of impressed because it's like that's a tough thing to pull off on TV usually, you know. And they were doing some real kind of. They weren't doing like the Supergirl kind of thing
Right, exactly.
where
Well,
cheat. It's like we got to get in close on these people.
And we also know that they're not working with much either. Probably, you know, they probably don't have.
I mean, this isn't, you
a
know,
whole lot to work with.
You know, budgets can be tight. Time is usually the worst probably thing.
That too, exactly.
Is the biggest crunch for them, I bet. So salute to all those guys. Absolutely. So yeah. So you know, we'll get to the other emails later because now it's basically time to kind of get into it.
Yeah, let's do
I
it.
just want to give Kev a little shout out. You know what I mean? And now let's move it along.
He's special.
He's special. He gets a little up front.
Yeah.
He gets a little something up front. Hey, how you doing, pal? Thanks. All right. So spoiler warning. It's a season 3. If you haven't read the books, it's time for you to go read the books, or just listen and enjoy all the spoilers we're going to give you, because that's what we do. We kind of recap and you know, break down stuff from the book when it applies as we go along, and we theorize about what's going to happen in the season and where things are moving forward, when they're going. Usually we hit the bell whenever there's a look at that, we both went to go do it at the same time. Okay, all right. See, that's why
Okay, that's why Bill is going for it. Yeah, I don't really think we're gonna have any bells this week. We're gonna have a couple anti-bells maybe.
Yeah,
if
you know,
there were such a thing, but
I meant, you know what I meant to do? I meant to, because the store across the street I think has squeaky toys.
Okay.
So I had meant to buy something, so I got the little squeaky.
Right.
So I used to have the one at the job.
Yep.
That I used to drive people nuts with. That somehow now I can't find. But yeah. So we needed. I knew we need some other kind of sound effect like that. But maybe we got the. I mean, we got a classic. You know, we got. That's like the.
It's a little obnoxious.
It's a little obnoxious. Yeah. You know.
Well, maybe we'll see if you remember.
I mean, we could just hit him with the lightning.
Nah.
Yeah, that's like when God comes in, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't seen him in a while. Let's get to it.
Okay, let's get to it. So I think we're all caught up, right? We're all.
Official biz.
I
is
think
out
we're
of the
all
way,
official
baby.
business up, and the recording is still going. So that means we're good. Double check the double check, right? Okay, so this episode is Hilter, and that's because it's on our friend Satan's name tag. He's working at Subway.
Satan.
I mean, well, just about as evil.
Basically, yeah.
Just about it. You can see how I might get those two confused.
Well, yeah. I mean,
They look so much alike.
right.
But
Hitler's
working at Subway, Blimpies. I forget the exact name of it.
Looked exact. I mean, it was shot inside a Subway. It had to.
Whatever.
Be.
Yes.
It looked exactly.
They're
I mean, the wallpaper, everything.
Everything. They were like, "Don't worry, we will move all the signage. Everything will be covered." But that's what I was thinking of when they did the overhead shot of that whole setup with the trays, with the cheese and everything. I'm like, oh, they didn't build that, right? They had to have talked somebody into it. Maybe it was one of those, like, it's like some other chain that didn't make it, like how the last Blockbuster is still open.
Yeah.
It's like some other chain, some pizza sandwiches. But he's the big thing here is that Hitler's he's making sandwiches. He's saving money probably. He goes out the back. He's a friendly guy. He's great with the customers.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's employee of the month.
Yeah. I think it's been a few times.
Yeah.
He's got all the flair. That's not just the name tag,
bunch
all
of
the
swag,
all the buttons.
Yeah, a bunch of swag on him.
From what was that movie, Shenanigans? With
I didn't catch. I was trying to catch to see if there were any Easter eggs on those pins, but
Yeah,
I really couldn't catch any.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I forget what the keep calm and something on was, but it was sandwich related somehow.
It was related to the store name, exactly.
Yeah. But he goes out back for a break real quick, and he has a little plum cake. Because, remember how much of a fan he is of plum cake. He must hate that plum cake, that prefab, factory crap. But he basically goes into, like...
Yeah. Well,
it's the speech all over again.
I was wondering. I actually forgot to look it up to see if that was like the verbatim speech.
Oh, if it
one
was
of
picked
one
out.
of the actual speeches that he's made. It had to be.
Had to be.
But yeah, I thought it was funny, like that whole scene, how they set it up with like those three people that were his
Right.
coworkers that were just so prototypical. Like
No. You know what I got that was perfect? That they nailed was that they were each from a different store because it's a strip mall.
Yeah.
So each,
Okay.
I noticed that they also had different shirts
You're
on.
right,
So I
yeah,
saw
you're
that the
right.
one guy it said something else, and I was like, oh, okay, because they're all taking breaks at the
Right,
same
okay.
time
That
out the
makes
back
sense.
of the same strip mall. That must be a thing that happened. I bet you that's so fucking universal that we just never would have thought of that because we never had that
yeah,
job.
because Seth Rogen worked at fucking some
yeah.
kind of
Some kind of strip mall,
strip mall store
Petco's or something.
in Vancouver.
Some glass head shop.
Yeah.
Some glass pipe shop.
Yeah, but the point still remains, though.
Sure.
That, they were just to a T, like the,
Yeah.
millennial that works at,
All those kinds of jobs.
You know what I mean?
those early life jobs.
Yeah,
that just
exactly.
kind of biding your time.
Exactly.
But yeah, so he makes some crazy speech. I on the rewatch because I started watching it because it's just a replay. So I caught the first 10 minutes again, and I was like, trying to catch like the context that would convince this kid, like, you know what I mean, to be like, yeah, right, like, you know what I mean. And I'm like, no, it doesn't hold. But so some kid gets googie-eyed. So it turns out like he's still working the plan. It's old habits die hard. Suddenly we cut back to inside the place. Break is over, and he's doodling on a napkin, and it's basically like the hierarchy on one napkin of the structure of this new regime would be, and then on the other napkin, I think it's like basically how to get like just arrows and a map of United States and Canada basically, and how he'll take over this continent now, kind of a thing. But he's a quick learner. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
he can adapt.
Yeah, he's sharp, that guy, I guess.
Much.
I don't know. I don't want to compliment him.
Yeah, I feel like I'm having too much fun with it right now,
Yeah.
more than I had on the show. But like, he is crafty. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Fuck him.
And he makes a mean sandwich. So Santa Killers comes strolling in. Because as you do when you're Santa Killers, you stroll the fuck in. You stroll the fuck everywhere, pretty much.
I mean, look.
You're in no hurry.
As much as I complain about them diverging from the book sometimes, they couldn't have just given this guy like a vehicle for the show. Like, he couldn't have had like the Santa Killers mobile. Like what's wrong with that?
Well,
Like that.
couldn't he at least have had a hell horse or something?
Something.
You know, a horse would have been
horse
cool.
would have been fine.
A horse would have been fine. You
And
know what I
they're
mean?
in like they're in some fucking.
And then it's him and
southern
Eugene on the
state,
horse.
so it's not that random.
And then it would be him and Eugene on the horse, and Hitler following after on a
Right.
rope. That's
Agree.
You know what I mean? Perfect. And Art's face gets to look back at him every now and then and be like, "Watch out for the poop." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the horse is just shit and walk at the same time.
I would actually hope more for like just a look back and just a. Like you just hear a. Like every now and then you just hear the mouth move like.
Looks back and shakes his head in judgment, like,
Yeah.
"You're so evil." You know?
That was a pretty good voice spell.
I knocked it down to like a 3-year-old. I realized that sometimes there's a little bit more of like a little kid kind of thing in here, a little bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so Santa Kills comes. He's like, "I'm taking you." The manager comes out. He throws the manager right into the refrigerator.
That was a great shot.
Yeah, knocked that guy's wig right off, which was great because when that guy came out, I'm like, that cannot be that guy's real hair.
No, well, I feel
Yeah.
like they did an extra shot on the guy's head.
Yeah, so you knew.
To show that it was a
was-
wig,
yeah.
because to lead that into the next scene, you know.
Yeah, I wonder if there's more to that backstory for some reason because it feels like too specific of a thing to throw into there and just not really address it. But that's also what's genius of it, kind of in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Little things like that. Like we don't need a story on that.
Right.
So then he takes him. Basically, it's like, "No, you're coming with me." So really, all we get with them is just that they're traveling now. That they're on foot. They're traveling back to, I think, whatever doorway Saint came through, I guess, is the
That's
situation.
all we fucking need.
That's all we know.
All we needed, baby.
That's all we need. You know what? And remember, like last week, we were like, "Oh man, Hitler's gonna come. It's gonna be too much. It's gonna
be a full episode.
Oh, we're gonna get so much Hitler, so much Hitler." And they gave us just the right amount. It's like
was
just
perfect.
just address it, move it along. Because you know what it is, bro? I bet you it's because it's 10 episodes. If this had been 13, I bet you we would have had more of that. It would have been like,
absolutely.
we need to kind of pace it out differently.
I agree.
So it's a whole big thing. Not walking. I'm not going, and he's walking. Haha. So we come back from commercial, whatever. It's Tulip and Jessie, and they're burning Madame Boyd's body in a funeral pyre type thing. Viking funeral, for lack of a better term. I'm not sure what to call that in the voodoo community.
Right.
But it was very voodoo style of a funeral pyre. I think that's the actual term.
Right. Okay. Now, I'm not an expert on these things,
Yeah, sure.
but when I've seen them executed in movies and TV,
Yeah.
I've never seen them actually light the water on fire before.
To use gasoline like that?
Like that seems like a.
Well,
You know.
it's the bayou, baby. It's Louisiana, I guess, you know?
Yeah, just it's a little careless, I think.
I thought the whole thing was going to go like, bahoosh, because he had like the whole gasoline jug on it.
Right.
And which was kind of smart. You know,
Right, but
way
it was
to do
emptying out, so I guess by the time that the flame got to it, it wasn't.
Yeah, but you're right. They usually kind of keep it a little closer,
And
throw
then
a
you
match
shoot
on
something
it,
onto
shoot
it,
an
or
arrow
yeah.
onto it or something.
Game of Thrones.
But then again, maybe they were like, archery is a Walking Dead thing. We don't want Daryl coming in here getting us all greasy with his hair and shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
It was just a silly observation that I made.
Interesting. I liked it.
I don't know.
I want more of those.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So they do the funeral pyre thing, but then Starr arrives right away. They were waiting for him. We cut to Cassidy telling some stories with Icarus's little
Children of the Blood.
Children of the Blood gang. Those cool kids.
Yeah.
Nothing but cool kids, and they were very wrapped in it. And he kind of like even realizes. Again, like I'm getting pulled into like
Yeah,
like you know I constantly get pulled into like this thing, but Icarus wants to show him something, and it's a couple of caskets, you know.
How cute.
How cute. Now in the book, he does this too. He's like, we sleep in caskets, and he says the same thing basically, like you sleep in one of these, like for real, like you don't have to sleep in one of these, like what are you doing? And so he's just like, yeah, you know, fuck it, you know, that's what I do. And then it's kind of like, okay. Later on, it gets weird.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
I kind of forgot about that too, like just now. I'm like, oh yeah, that stuff. Okay, yeah, we do need the anti-bell. Is that what you meant about the anti-bell?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm figuring it out now. Okay, so so he asks Cassidy, about turning people. What's her name? Because this whole thing about turning people, and then the girl starts telling him about this mission.
Right.
That he sends everybody out on a mission that he turns, and they all go out, and it almost turns.
And they did a montage.
Yeah, it turns into basically like a tourism kind of like type thing, or like if you were like being saw some kind of promotional material from.
It was like a little ad.
Yeah,
but it was
slick. It was good.
But it was actually a cool setup because. Obviously, we know now, like,
yeah.
by the end of the episode, they retracted, but
right.
it was a pretty cool setup in my opinion because they didn't have to delve too deep into that world, but it was a cool thing to just mention and then leave it there for the rest of the season, I guess.
Because it was an interesting touch where it was like, he wasn't doing a lot of that in the book, but. Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't like totally, offended by it. Like, oh, they changed something. You know what I mean? I was cool with it.
Exactly.
I was riding with it, and then they switch it up on you later on, which is interesting because didn't really see it coming. But as soon as they were in the car together, I was like, oh, and instantly it was like, oh, this whole thing's a facade.
Right.
It's just a fucking facade. So we see all that stuff. We cut back to Jessie, Grandma, and Starr, and they have this sit down, this meeting. So they'll get together.
Business meeting.
A little business meeting about basically borrow Jessie for a little while so that we can go steal souls. I think is how it goes down for Grandma.
Well, I think he was being very vague about what he needed Jessie for to Grandma, and Grandma was like, "Well, I'm not going to let you do that unless you get me what I really want."
Right. That's why they go to two different teams, right? And so that means that eventually Tulip and Featherstone go to Japan to go get souls from Solo Go-Go.
Right, with JoJo.
With
JoJo. With
good one.
Jody.
Jody. So that kind of goes down real quick. There's a couple interesting moments in there. I mean, we get to see Star's got this weird hat on. That
little beanie.
That probably makes him look more like a penis.
Yeah.
Or like he's got a condom on his head that needs to be, the tip needs to be burped. So with that, they make this deal. One funny thing I thought was when Grandma just kind of quietly slides her catheter hose across the table and just drips it onto his shoe.
Yeah, was that like, has he gotten peed on in the comic?
No, they've avoided like his fetishes type thing completely. I'm wondering if they're thinking like, let's just save that for this thing where like maybe that loose plotting that they kind of do for the future. Like, it's like, oh, we kind of have like an idea for that. I'm wondering or somehow because they touch on it in the first seasons. It's conversational shit, but we're not doing any of that this season. We're not wasting our time with that. We're very we have to stay story oriented. We can't have drifts really. Plus it was like an introduction kind of thing they were doing with him that season, you know what I mean? So it was like, oh, let's just get to know him all the way up front, and then we'll pick and choose as we go. She pisses on his shoes, and we cut to Hoover, and he pops into this church, which is like where all the most badass priests hang out, I guess.
Yeah,
like if you can bench 320.
I took that as like that was just a group of clergy people that were like vampire hunters, and that was it. Like, because he took the elevator so far down that like he got to the bottom floor of the church, and like that's where those guys were at.
I think
because like they were just so ready to go that I can't imagine that was like the whole, all the clergy people for that church.
Yeah, I think the thing is that it's I think it's that group that he mentions in the pilot. Or in the very first couple episodes, like, because it's not the Grail. He calls out like these, and he mentions them again as vigilantes.
Okay.
Some kind of something. I forget the exact phrase.
This is Cassidy.
Cassidy. So it's like these guys. So these guys are like a separate entity, but because the Grail has their hands in everything,
of course.
And it's pseudo religious. They they know the whole shebang. But I think they operate semi-independently. They're not like, necessarily the same group. It's definitely outside help. Yeah. So some badasses and collars. We got that going. Use the Miley Cyrus code word to get down there, which is, I want to use Miley Cyrus's skin as a suit, I think.
Yeah, that was
something
interesting.
to that.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. Then we meet the super priests, right? So then we cut to TC and Jody and Featherstone.
They were just hanging out in the dining room, right?
Right, yeah.
And they were just bullshitting, waiting for the meeting to be over.
Right. Which had a good exchange between Featherstone and Tulip.
Yeah.
A little bit.
About Genesis, and that perks TC's ears, and he did the thing exactly like we called it last week, where it was like, oh, what is that? It's a band. It's the one thing that we literally said that last week.
Yeah,
that's funny, right?
Yeah, they were definitely going to do that bit. That's why we need the other sound from when we're right. You know what I mean? We need some other kind of ding-a-ding-dong. I'm surprised there's nothing on this fucking thing over here. Maybe that's when the lightning should strike, you know? Because that's such a rare thing. We were right about something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'll work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they do that. And then we get a quick thing with... he talks about putting a pig's heart into an Irish setter.
Yeah, I really wasn't following that, dude. Like, I couldn't really understand what he was saying.
Yeah, it lived for 2 days. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, you know, but there's a funny thing to that because he comes walking up, and as he's walking up beside Starr, it's TC and Starr in this scene. And I might be getting to it out of order, I think. I think it's out of order here in my note. But when he does walk up to him, I was immediately like, oh my God, these guys actually have a lot of shit in common.
Yeah.
Is this where we're going to go with this? Where these guys go like a pervo bond of some kind, like, you know, like, oh.
Yeah, if they
like,
got
so
into
like when
it.
when he says that to him, I thought that might have like piqued his ear a little bit because, not for nothing, like he could use a guy like that.
Right,
like,
right.
Oh, you're a crazy sick fuck who'll just like do crazy ass shit to living animals and people.
The Grail could really use TC and
That's
Jody.
the kind of guy we keep him in the basement and like, you know, it's not torture.
It's just enhanced interrogation.
Yeah, it's enhanced interrogation, right. Well, good job there. You working for Cheney? Okay, so anyway, we're digressing. But that was something that crossed my mind. So he does that thing, and they held it real long because immediately Starr just starts listening to his phone, like he dials, which the bit doesn't really work in the real world because you don't hear a dial tone like that anymore. But he dials out his phone and pretends like he's calling someone. But they hold on it so long that I started writing my note. And then like looked up because I realized
it was still there
because they were still there doing it, and I'm like, I think I might have missed something a little bit, like it's some weird facial tick or something, but it was cool. I thought it was funny. So with that, what do we got next? I'm supposed to be managing this document better. Steve?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, cool.
From accounting.
Oh, okay. Well, today's your first day. Pleasure to have you here with us. All right, so. Yeah, so the girls are going to Osaka, rather. And that's the plan. The girls are going to steal the souls from Japan. Tulip and Featherstone actually get into a bit of a fight. And then they do a thing in the hallway where as Tulip is leaving and she's like, you know, gives the kiss to Jessie. And she's like, you know, don't forget to call or text me or whatever. And then Featherstone tries to do the same bit with...
She literally did like a sigh. She was like, oh... Like she did like one of those, like she like the camera panned to her for a second. She's like, oh my God.
Like, oh my God, that was the sweetest thing. Fucking like, you know, which is crazy to see, but it's like they haven't done it in a while. They haven't touched on it in a while, so it's funny to remember, you know. I was more taken aback by how she does this thing in the background, Featherstone, while when Starr comes in, like the second Starr comes in, she's already up and off Tulip, and she's off to the side, arms behind her back, legs astride, like, you know what I mean, like in formation. Like a good soldier, you know what I mean? And then as Starr is talking to Jessie, like in the background, you can see her fucking fix her hair, fix her shirt, fix her jacket, put her hand, like, you know what I mean? And it's a totally like, didn't even have to do that at all. Like, it's like, you know, it was a nice small touch kind of thing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. That's something that I notice more as this season goes on and as the show progresses. Like, just the attention to detail and like the subtle little things, like the subtle little things rather, like even what you said before, like with that the manager in the sub shop, like, you know, the way they
the wig
focused on him for a little bit and he was just a meaningless character, you know, like really interesting stuff that they're doing this season.
So
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. So Cassidy, actually, we cut back to Cassidy, and he sires, because it was a bit of a debate, I think, of whether or not he would do it. But he actually sires that same girl, who's like the one girl he's actually been talking to in that group. The
one that he met.
The one that they're,
on the vampire dating app.
Right, on Bite Me app. So there's this whole kind of ceremony moment. We cut back to them planning for the trip to Osaka.
Right.
They have all the maps out. They go over the cover stories, this whole bit about the whole nickname thing. I don't have any of it because it was kind of like, it's interesting, it's cool, but I don't want to get caught up on it. But basically, Tulip's not cool about this shit. And Featherstone's not either, but like Featherstone's at least like, whatever, it's my assignment kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And Tulip's just like, fuck that. But got no real choice. This is the plan, you know? So we cut back to Cassidy and Icarus, and they're flying again, and it's like set to music, and it's like, oh my god, well, you know, this is a bromance.
Yeah, Cassidy was really enjoying himself.
Mm-hmm. They're out drinking. Cassidy tries that wooing power, or whatever that's called, the spell that makes you come hither, and then basically what it comes down to is that Hoover is kind of spying on them, and then sends in the goons. Yeah. Or basically runs to go get the goons, and then I think we cut maybe back and forth. I think we cut to Tulip and Jessie. She's in the clothing now. She looks. She's in the
Grail outfit.
The Grail outfit. You know, red shirt, white suit, slacks, dress clothes. White dancing shoes. They do the
cue the elevator music.
Yeah, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit.
It's
here.
all right. We all get lost in our
We get a little lost. No, because I made special notes, and I'm kind of like, oh, I see. We already talked about it. I jumped. That's what it is. I did jump around. So Featherstone's like, I'll call. That's the bit. It was I'll call, and he's like, why? She's like, I'll text. He's like, why? You know what I mean? She's like, oh, okay, and she runs off. Right. So I had that in the bad spot.
She just gave up on it.
Yeah. So we cut to Grandma. Oh, the kiss.
Bill is struggling with his notes right now. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
All right.
No,
we're back.
And we're back. Now I'm putting a box around it because I was being silly. But yeah. I think I got so lost in the moment of realizing what was happening that when I went to commercial, I just wrote kiss.
Gotcha, okay.
Instead of like any description of the scene. Because I'm like, I know they came back to that. They fought the guys, the priests. And I'm like, where is that stuff? And I guess I just didn't write that. I just wrote the kiss.
Yeah, it's okay.
So that's not in the book. I mean.
Well, what?
I mean, if we're doing that.
What's that?
The Cassidy kiss with Icarus.
Yeah, well, I mean,
if we're expanding a little bit, I didn't mind it in a way. But I mean, what do you think?
Well, he saved him from that church from gangs in New York, and
right.
I mean, Cassidy seems like a wild character in the comic, where he just sexually would really just do anything, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's actually something that I'm surprised they didn't really do in the book, because it's just like it could, especially at that time, it would be so like weird and unusual,
yeah,
and counterculture, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, I'm fine with it, obviously, but I just really don't like the way that they're doing it with Icarus, because I don't like him, obviously.
Right.
I think it's just going to be another letdown for Cassidy, obviously.
Yeah, I think they're building it up a little bit more than it is in the book. It's like, well, if we're going to kind of just pad it out a little bit, what if we made it more personal between the two of them, so that when the big hammer comes down and it's like, this might add into however they plan to finish it, or they've planned to shift the end of their story.
Yeah, I mean, hey, dude, you're around for like 100, 200 years. You might want to just try something different.
I mean, they kind of tee it up in the same episode, because basically the next time, like, you come back to Icarus, like, he's killing that girl.
Right.
So it's like revealed instantly, like, and you're supposed to sit there and be like, oh, wow, like,
Cassidy's crushed.
He's putting himself in harm's way. He's going to have to, like, probably kill this guy now. Yeah. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, he pretty much will.
Yeah.
Watch out for your roofing.
I hope they do it that way.
Oh, my God, it'd be great. I can't wait. So basically, they have that big old kiss. Okay.
And they, I think that, now that we mentioned it, I really think they might, for the listeners trying to follow along here, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry in advance.
It's all right. At least we're staying within the topic.
Right. I hope all of you guys have read the comic at this point, and
Sure.
you understand how Cassidy kills Icarus in the comic.
Right.
And I think that they kind of teased it this week. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
With the way he throws his hand up, and it burns real quick.
Oh, with the spotlight.
And it's a quick shot.
Yeah.
I feel like that could. It might be a reach, but
they might do something kind of different.
Where he just fully burns.
Yeah.
They
want you to stay, reminded about that.
Exactly.
Because
it could be a reach, but it's a possibility.
It could be. But I think the thing at the very least is like, that dude's gonna die. Like, they're not keeping him around in any way, and it's certainly a thing where if they do it, it'll be funny to see. It'll be interesting to see if they do the bit where at the very end, Cassidy yells, "Oh, where's your fucking accent now?"
Right.
Like, because
he's
all of a sudden, even on that level, he's a fraud.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's down to that last six, and you can't. It's not a thing that would work in a comic any other way. But Cassidy has to say that, because you can't hear the accent drop as you read a comic book. You know what I mean? Like, but in TV, you might be able to do that some other way, or reveal it sooner or something like that, where like, as soon as he's staked down, he starts dropping the accent, and Cassidy's like, "Look at you, you're not even like," we'll have a little maybe more meat on that.
Yeah, that would be great. A little exchange.
Because when I was reading it, I was like, because I reread it, and I was like, oh, did I catch that the first time? I feel like I didn't catch that the first time, or maybe it just didn't have as much of an impact or impress me.
Yeah, it probably just didn't stick with you.
Yeah, it didn't impress me probably as much at the time or something. But anyway, so back to this episode.
Yeah.
We come back, Grandma, basically, and she's all like, she pulls Jessie in, and she's all like, all of a sudden she's this thing where she's like a grandma.
Yeah.
Like for a split second.
A little affectionate.
She's like, "I love you. You're my baby. But if you don't come back, I'm going to suck a soul out of like everything."
She said she'll tear him in half.
Right.
And then I'll suck your soul right out of you, something like that.
Yeah. Right out of your bunghole. Or something.
Like, she said it like I did to your mama, I think she said.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, she dropped
that's
that.
what she said.
Reminding us that the mama's dead. And I keep wondering. I was flipping through those books. Made me wonder.
Right.
If she's really dead or not.
Well, hey, I mean, they don't really explicitly say in the comic at all how she dies, so that's how they leave it open enough for them to bring her back. So it'll be interesting to see if they do bring her back down the line in the show, because she literally just said that she tore her in half and sucked her soul out of her.
Right.
So I don't know if that's just a facade that Grandma's trying to put up with Jessie, but.
Well, here's what I'm thinking, right? Here's how you can write.
I trust her that she did it.
Well, here's the thing. The grandma says that she sucked the soul out of her and stuff like that, but, I'd have to rewatch that shit.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like once they cut her on a table or whatever, I thought that was it. You know what I mean? But I'm just going to assume that wherever, like, either Jody fucking saved her on the sneak, and that'll be, like, in a flashback, or it was like, and I crawled out of my own shallow grave, and and then XYZ happens to me, like she's got her own story to tell.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically how it goes down in the comic.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes down in the comic. It's like, I know you, right?
Yeah.
That's the funny part. It's like, oh shit, she got one arm. So then we cut back to Cassie and E. Oh, this is actually where the kiss was. That other kiss was earlier. I misinterpreted it, but this is where they kiss. Blah, 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 blah. Tulip and Featherstone on the plane, and Jody's actually there in the front seat. They kind of, again, they don't get along very well. It's all about the magazine, and this is a 16-hour flight is the last thing you hear. And there's a reminder from the announcement box.
But Tulip, she listens to Jessie's advice, and instead of hitting Featherstone, she takes a deep breath.
Right.
And she
composes herself.
Just punches the back of Jody's chair.
Right.
Instead.
And with that, Icarius, the whole thing in the car with Icarius, now in the car with the girl.
Yeah.
And she's, she's like,
she's ready to go on a trip.
She's ready to go. She got her little sleeping neck thing,
yep.
For the flight.
Yep.
She's packed up. She couldn't be more excited. She's got, plans, probably.
Yeah, she's excited, man. This is what she's been waiting for her whole life.
This is the big thing, you know what I mean? But soon, like I said, as soon as she got in that car, I was like, no, this is.
Yeah,
he doesn't let. Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like the scene. It's like, oh, we're in a dark garage of some kind. Oh, we're not even leaving.
He's suddenly never worn. He's never worn sunglasses in the show, but he's suddenly wearing them now.
Yeah. Suddenly, it's all like weird camera angles and shit. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, someone's gonna die. Yeah. So, and that's what happens. So yeah, it's this whole thing.
He chomped her up.
Yeah, he chomped her up. The whole story's been bullshit. There's no missionaries. There's no getting out of this. And he ate her up, and that's that. And she's dead. And it's just a question of how will Cassidy kind of find out. How
we know he finds out if you watch the preview.
Well, that's true. That's true. It doesn't. They're not wait. They can't wait around. They can't drag it out. You know what I mean? It's pretty much
3 episodes left.
Yeah, it's pretty much like whenever they establish something, it's like 1 or 2 episodes before it's kind of addressed, which is great. Which is a great way to be. It just keeps the pace going. Like if they could keep that pace for 13 episodes, then cool. Like it's just a rhythm. It's just keep the rhythm kind of going. Make it feel like it's moving. With we're not standing still.
Yeah, and that's what this season does better than the other two. But that's a tangent.
That's a tangent. But it's a tangent within the framework.
Whatever.
Okay, fine. All right. So with that, he kills the sire. Then we go back to Jessie and Starr, and they're traveling. They've exchanged some promises. It's like if you promise me, you won't stab me in the back. I promise I won't stab you in the back. For right now, it's very much the classic my enemy's enemy is my friend kind of thing, or like together we can take down the bigger problem and then worry about our squabbles later thing.
I actually took it more direct, whereas like Starr was looking for the long haul.
Yeah.
Starr was looking for a commitment to the Messiah.
Yeah, right.
Right then and there.
Right then and there.
And Jessie gave it to him because obviously once he has Genesis back, it's just, he's unstoppable, obviously. So he could Herr Starr to death, and it's really not going to matter either way.
Herr Starr is basically hoping, that his word is his bond, and as a Texas gentleman, this is a thing that really.
But don't.
That's kind of in his character, but it's to a degree. Even with that, it's to a degree.
Well, spoilers for next week's episode. I'll give you 3 seconds if you are someone that doesn't watch the previews for next week and likes to catch the whole episode new.
You've been warned.
Jessie shoots the All-Father in the head and kills him. Well, he does what Herr Starr wants, really. So, to a degree, he definitely sticks to his word.
Right.
We'll see what he does once he gets Genesis back.
Yeah, and I wonder if that goes down quite like that, though. But here's the thing.
It's a pretty direct shot.
It seemed like a pretty direct shot, but I mean, anything could be them just kind of showing you that quick, choo, 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 it all goes down. Then it's oh, no, they're still standing there.
Okay.
And it's like it didn't happen. Like he just saw it all go down. One of those kind of TV or movie kind of trickery things, you know what I mean? So you never know. What they might have used to mislead a little bit in the trailer.
Yeah, you never know.
But that would be kind of different than the way it goes down in the book, for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a whole...
We spoke about that last week.
Yeah, there's a whole different angle on this with Masada and the trip out there. I don't think we're going to get that.
No, well, we...
Because I feel like we're going to wrap up...
That ship has sailed already.
Yeah, I feel like we're... Right,
because they're using the New Orleans base as the Grail now.
Right. Well, the fact that he came here says that we're not going there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. And I thought they were going to try and set up the Cassidy gets stuck at the Grail base and gets tortured and all that stuff.
Right.
But
that could happen still, but it would just be under Herr Starr's watch.
But Jesse's there.
Right, but here's the thing, right?
Maybe Jessie leaves, next week, and then they get him in episode 9 or something like that.
Maybe that's a cliffhanger. Maybe that's a cliffhanger for the season. Is Herr Starr's got Cassidy, and Jesse's got the word back, but now they flew off or something, and it's I don't know where they took him.
You know what I mean? And then they do Masada next season.
You know what I mean?
I'm down for it.
Now those two have to break into it or something, and but who knows? Because there's a lot of stories that happen between that stuff that they've already skipped over or seem to be laying out structured differently, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so anyway, we kind of we're getting close to the end here. They exchange those things. They put another hood on Jessie as they drive out. As they drive away, we cut to TC's painting Grandma's toenails. Yeah. Not for nothing, her feet didn't look as bad as you would think for a lady of her age. No. I'm not saying they were hot. I'm just saying, even considering they were all flexed out and, she had the painting thing separated, but I was like, I expect those to be a little bit more gnarly. Yeah, but so kudos to her, I guess. If those are her actual feet, if she was cool.
Well, she's got TC giving her pedicures every day.
Well, that's true. So. That's true. If you marinate them right, I guess. If he's
probably, when you got somebody that enjoys that, you might as well take advantage of it every day.
He probably does consider it an art form.
No, he was sniffing them. He was like, I don't know if he caught it, but he was like sniffing them a little bit.
Yeah, well, he was a little...
It was weird. it was a funny scene, but it was just weird.
He's just so close, and he's doing that thing where he's just kind of his head is tilted back.
He's fucking great, dude. Yeah, that actor is killing it.
I know we're not going to get any more of him after this season, probably, so it's like, you got to keep a track of that guy.
Dude, he's phenomenal.
Keep an eye on that guy. It's subtle. It's so subtle. It's so good. And he slips up about Genesis. He mentions Genesis. And he's like, well, they said it was a band and or something.
Yeah, he says, "What's Genesis?" And then she says to him, something along the lines of, "You idiot, it's
first book of the Bible."
First book of the Bible, and he's like, "Nah, I know all the books of the Bible, but what's a Genesis?"
Right.
And then she kind of perks up in her chair a little bit, and she said something like Thomas Charles.
Right.
Which we don't get in the book at all.
No. We might somewhere.
I think so.
We might got what TC stood for somewhere.
Okay. Maybe. I'll trust you.
I'm sure it's established on his own level, on the writer's level, so I'm just saying.
But that's how the episode ends, right? With her... Oh, no.
We got a little more.
Right.
So she leans forward, and it's like, oh, shit, like, what's that about?
Right. We'll get into that
And then
next
we
week.
got to Cassidy sleeping in the casket, and Icarus comes back in and basically crawls in with him and closes the lid.
And come on. Look.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it, whatever. But you're going to make Cassidy the little spoon?
You know what I mean?
That's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. But you know what you know about Cassidy you're learning in here, and probably the same thing in the book a little bit too? Like, he comes off like he wants to behave like he's the big spoon. But when it comes in, he wants to be the little spoon.
I guess you're
right. In his heart, he wants to be snuggled.
Right.
He wants to be snuggled as much as he wants to snuggle.
You're right.
Like, you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
It's like, I need fucking hugs too, Fucking flips the table.
That was more like Icarus than Cassidy.
True. I'm losing track of all my accents and impressions. And so with that, we cut to Jessie and Starr. They're in the elevator. This is the last scene, basically. They're coming up the elevator, and it's like, yeah, well, listen, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to go all the way, and it means that you're going to have to kill this guy. Starr says to Jessie, and Jessie's like, what? And then the doors open, and there's Big Boy, and he's like,
Thrice blessed there, Starr.
Custer. It's Custer. I actually wrote it down. Thrice blessed.
Custer.
Oh, Custer.
Right.
But that's it. That's how that one ends. The preview for next week goes pretty deep. Now, I don't know if you watched the preview scene.
I did indeed,
for next
bitch.
week. Because once I saw the image, I was like, oh, I got to see this.
I watched that shit, bitch.
So the preview scene, for next week, is we're definitely getting that thing that was teased in the season trailer from Comic-Con. Satan sits down with Grandma.
I hope the Saint doesn't kill Satan until season.
You want some more of him?
Because I want him. I want him, man. He's fucking great, dude.
I just want to watch him.
First off, he looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've never seen more fucking abs on a character in anything in my life.
Right, that almost feel like...
It looks so absurd.
Yeah,
he just looks ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's why it's funny, because he just looks absurd.
But it's well done.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The fact that it looks so good on camera, boggles my mind almost. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, that actually looks like fucking pretty believable.
Well, because it's spot on from the comic. They really didn't change it at all. But
well, there's that too.
Just
just to his design.
Just the way he bounces around and he's fucking,
When he grabs the chair and spins it around and sits on it the other way.
Yeah. He's goofy, but he's a little scary as well.
Yeah.
His voice gets deep when he wants it to and shit.
I feel like maybe that guy should have played Negan.
You're probably right.
The guy underneath that because that's the kind of impression I get where it's
You're probably right.
He's got some kind of charm, but it's a big guy charm where it's like, hey man, I'll crush your head. All right, let's just talk for now.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
It's so right, man. He played the wrong character on The Walking Dead. That's for sure.
But so with that, they have an exchange. Not to give too much away, but it reveals some stuff. They have a pre-existing thing. We
talk
hinted
about it.
Well, we hinted at it. We kind of thought that was already there. And plus, I mentioned here on the show that the guy playing Satan has a credit from the episode when Tulip picks up the phone.
Right.
He's the voice on the phone.
Right.
So that kind of is given away by the IMDb and all. But so that, Grandma's got a pre-existing relationship with him. And in this scene, it kind of gets revealed a little bit where it's like, I'll let you go as long as you want, but you're mine when you die. Like, it's already like a predetermined guarantee. Like, there's no, like, when are we going to get you down here, Marie?
Yeah.
Like,
Like, when are you ready to go?
You know?
Which is interesting because I
wouldn't really... Name.
Well, that too, but I wouldn't really. I haven't made the correlation yet until you just said it. Thanks.
This will change now.
Right. No, it's all good.
Ruined the show for me, finally.
Yeah, right. That's the thing that pushed
me
over.
That's finally the thing that broke it.
Well, what I was going to say
was
that I forgot.
Okay.
And that I think that this was a good episode. No.
Well, this changes. This is
No.
obviously not exactly how it goes in the book. I mean, there's that. We could hit that real quick. Maybe that'll jog your memory by the time. But it's definitely a thing that's like, Satan's already dead in the comics, basically. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a thing that they don't even touch or address. It's just kind of alluded to that grandmas were just really old by some.
Well, the thing is that it's actually reversed because in the comic she has the deal with God.
She has a deal with God, but it's only related to like Jessie and all that.
That's correct, but I think that because I just actually reread that arc like this past week.
Oh shit! We had a homework sound effect.
Oh shit!
I ain't got one.
And I think
nothing that works.
I think they kind of
crickets. I got crickets.
We should have used that before.
Should have. Yeah, next time.
But I think she had something going on with God prior, to what we actually explicitly see in the comic.
Okay, it's hinted at, right?
I don't know if it's hinted at, but
I always feel like there was
there's a ton of there's a ton of like innuendos throughout the book with different characters that are like.
Grandma's mysterious.
That are like assumptions you can or cannot make. You know what I mean? Like it's like things that like
it's so open.
You like if I said it to Garth Ennis, he could be like, sure.
Right. He seems like that kind of
guy.
Like,
yeah, whatever. That's cool. That's pretty cool. I never thought of it, but yeah, whatever.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into real quick. We'll jump into some Twitter stuff real quick. I put out a Twitter real quick before we started. That we'll be recording in an hour. Does anybody have anything? So from Terry Edelman, which is they're at Terry Edelman 1. I won't say he or she because I don't know. So glad they made the other vampire a gay monster. It's like killing the Joe Bubblegummers, and I love it. The Joe Bubblegummers. I'm not sure I follow that part.
Me neither.
But it's killing the Joe Bubblegummers, and I love it. Oh, maybe the people who don't know the book. Maybe that's a reference to people who don't know the book. Because it's so glad that they made the other vampire a gay monster. It implies that this person knows that he's not gay in the book. You know what I mean? So it's killing the Joe Bubblegummers, I guess meaning that people who are Johnny-come-latelys don't know the book stuff.
Maybe.
Maybe
Terry elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, give us a little follow-up. And then from River Bell at Amy Meredith 1022 on the Twitters. As a Jew, it rattles me to see Hitler in the modern world, but also as a Jew, I find the whole storyline a little hysterical. So there's that, And
hey. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's honesty. Gotta love it.
I actually was thinking about that today. It never really hit me until, obviously, I understand that it's a controversial thing to do.
Sure.
But it never really, I was never like, oh, wow. until this week when he was doing the fucking rant.
Yeah, and
kudos to that actor because it was great, obviously.
Right.
But I was like, whoa.
And it was that whole thing,
that's uncomfortable.
Too. There was an actual literal Jew drop, like, during that scene, too, where the one employee's like...
That was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was like, the Jews. And he's like, yes, of course.
He was like, no, he said something about the Jews, Hitler.
Right.
And then the employee was like, my boss is a Jew. Something like that.
Like she was putting some big thing together. Like,
right.
Yeah, like my boss is a Jew.
Yeah.
But of course,
Right.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So somebody else who had tagged us on a comment also on Twitter, though, said, is from Ruby Quill Killer Quiller is the handle. Whoa, just watched the latest episode of Preacher Icarius. What a bastard. Also, Herr Starr's funny little woolly hat. And I guess this is a line. Promise me you won't force me to have sex with you. Which was from a line, but now I can't recall. Who said that?
Shit. I'm trying to think of it.
What was the context? Please tell me you won't force me to have sex with you.
Shit. I remember that happening in the show.
Oh, crap.
All right. I'll think of it.
Yeah, it'll come to us.
That was it on the twits?
That's it on the twits.
All right.
And then over on the emails.
Get to
it. We got, what did we have? We just had these two, right? So we got a quick, well, I won't say a quick one. This one's kind of lengthy, but I'm going to kind of glaze it a little bit. So this will be a long time for this person to finally get to this, maybe, because Christina, it's from a lady named Christina Jones, and she's like, hey, I'm on your second episode, so I am behind, and you may already have addressed this. Okay, so she means for this season. Okay, I thought she meant like this podcast overall. Okay. She's like, Marie Langell has to be connected to hell, right? So we kind of covered it. It's devil's job to collect souls in exchange for favors, and all roads point to the Langells' bloodline being possibly the devil's minions or disciples. The more souls she consumes for him, the more she retains her youth and her power, but she needs the line to be continue, as the brokers, so to speak. Since she's grandma to Christina and Jessie, I bet she is a descendant that goes by grandma. I could be wrong, but I like the idea as it ties Jessie directly to the other world of heaven and hell, and makes entirely more sense why Genesis would connect with him in particular on Earth, which I thought was a decent point, which is like, okay, it's just another reason why this guy is definitely a better choice than these other ones that I blew up person by person. Jessie still doesn't do it for me, despite all I know. I find myself so detached from empathy for this character. It's just it just has to be how Dominic Cooper's portrayed him that ruins any chance of sympathy from me for this guy.
Fair enough.
To put it straight, I think more than anything, he wants to kick God's ass and sit in his seat when it's all said and done. And he wants his best friend, a woman, to be on either side of him. Honestly, I may be happier if they just leaned into that instead of this hovering question mark of his intentions. I believe 100% that Jessie was all about that life of getting in with Herr Starr. He knew Grandma didn't want or need Cassidy or Tulip, and with his soul back, he could shut all that shit down. But at the same time, as Starr pointed out, God is still missing, and Humperdoo is it. So a lot of that, what she's talking about right here, actually kind of is coming to play in these couple episodes. I think he wants the Messiah. I think he wants to be the Messiah no matter how much he protests. And they definitely kind of put that in there. You know, that's kind of like with the clip that we open the show with now, it kind of alludes to, is that, like, you know, he's kind of digging on that idea a little bit. And even if that was something that was, like, not directly addressed or hinted at in the book, like, he definitely rode with it. Like, you know, it definitely was never like, or they didn't spend a lot of time on anything of being like, oh, this is kind of like a burden. Like, he was kind of...
See, I don't see it.
But
I never saw it like that.
But he wasn't swinging the flag like, I'm digging it, I'm going to get cocky about it. He was very straight-laced and middle of the road, the kind of guy you'd want. There was no wavering, really. He was the righteous dude. You know what I mean? So...
Yeah, I never really took it that way. I always took it as that it was never in consideration for him, really.
Right.
In the comic, anyways.
Well, in the comic,
I see the point that the emailer has.
Yeah,
for sure.
for the show.
In the show, 100%. And I agree, you know.
So Christina's got a crazy grandma story. Here we go. Great. Here we go. We were driving down the road in the middle of winter to a movie, Lord of the Rings, I recall, and some kids threw snowballs with rocks in them at our car on the way to drop off my sister before the movie. I could tell this really upset my grandma, but she kept her cool until we had to go back the other direction, and the kids threw those snowballs again. Well, she braked so abruptly I may have gotten a mild concussion on the seat cushion. She jumped out of the car in the middle of the traffic, left the door open, and chased down the kids along with my brother and 2 cousins. It was at this moment that I realized I was secretly a part of a gang mentality I hadn't been initiated to. She came back with her flip-flops in her hand that she used to smack the kids with several times and got back in the car. As we casually drove to the movies, she ended the incident with, "They messed with the wrong one today."
That's glorious.
That's great.
That's wonderful.
That is great. That is great. See, the thing for me, man, is like my mother's mother, like my mom would always say that like my grandmother was like this kind of person who would snap and do some crazy shit, but I never got to see any of that.
Of course.
And my mother wouldn't elaborate on anything because she was probably like, my grandmother was probly fucking smacking her around or something.
Yeah, she's probably traumatized by it.
Yeah, she's probably traumatized by the whole thing, if we're going to be honest about it, So it was always like, I'd fucking love to have a couple of these stories. Stories about my other grandmother are just like, she's like a 1920s school teacher, basically. Right. And it's like, everybody's kind of like, oh. But, I don't know.
All proper.
Yeah, very proper. One is like, Kukululu, and the other one's like, you might as well have been a nun.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So that's going to round out the email. And we didn't get to use the tag. We can close the segment down with it.
Sure.
Oh, that's a good... I don't know who's singing that, but that's fucking sexy.
I think it's Beyonce.
It might be. It's probably the demo. They're gonna release the full track, like in a week or so.
Yeah, that's the reference track for sure.
Yeah, you think so? I think so. So again, if anybody else wants to send emails out to us, you can send them to pvp@Wicked Theory. You know what I mean? And I guess we're gonna start packing up the bag.
What bag?
Well, I mean the show bag.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because we're kind of done. I mean, I think
so.
I mean, unless I'm missing something.
No.
I don't know. Did I do everything? We did the breakdown. Yes. I mean, unless you had some more going on.
No. I'm wrapped up on this episode, man. I am really pumped for next week to see the unfolding of the Satan and the grandma story.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be interesting to see Jody, Tulip, and
that whole kind of
Flufferman. Fuck around with
Feather
each other.
Fluffer. Yeah. Let's see shenanigans ensue on them.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking now. I just realized I don't know who's going to speak Japanese. I mean, I think I saw like a Japanese for Dummies book on the table, which was kind of funny touch.
I mean,
when they were doing the thing with the map, but
I wouldn't be surprised if Featherstone can speak Japanese.
Oh, she should. If anybody should, it should be her.
She works for the Grail, and she's like such a fucking brown nose,
If anybody should be the bookworm about it, it should be her. But if they're going for the funny, it'll be Jody. Like out of nowhere, Jody will be like konnichiwa and sayonara and everything in between. Yeah, and then that's gonna be episode 8.
Yeah, man, 3 more left.
That's the penultimate.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's all right. Well, I guess we're gonna have one episode finally be like a decent chunk of Hitler. Now that the 3 of them are together, I guess the only other thing to see with them is just how
they get back to hell.
And how.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be. Watch, in the past I was expecting them to do a full episode on it,
right?
And they didn't. And now now I was just gonna say I think they're just gonna do what they did this week, like a little 5-minute thing at the beginning of the episode,
just touching it.
But then all of next week will be a fucking full Hitler episode.
Right, it'll be just the Three's Company episode. It's just following them. It's like how they get away from him or something, and that's the shenanigans episode.
I definitely think we'll get the. The cap on that story next week.
Yeah. Well,
however long it is,
or they'll put it off to the finale. Because if it's just a thing where like all we really have coming for that is like him just kind of walking back into hell, and some kind of thing going down with the exchange, and then not going right, and then somehow Arseface running out of the door before it closes or something, and being the only one to get out of it. It's not a lot. You know what I mean? You'd be filling it with other shit if you try to do more. Probably you'd just be giving them shit to run around and do for the sake of giving them shit, and it's like, well, we don't have time for that.
That's what I was gonna say, man. I just don't think they have the time. There were 3 episodes left. You got about 5 storylines going on right now.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, not full storylines, like different plots, but like people's storylines overlap.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can't really imagine them spending too much time on it. I hope not.
Well, speaking of time,
we're all out of it, bitch.
I think we're out of time for now. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been really fun.
Has it been?
Yeah, I think so. For me, I don't know. Maybe not for you.
Yeah.
What would you rate this experience out of 10?
Yeah.
You would rate it.
Yeah.
Okay. You won't. Okay, fair. That's fair. I'm gonna give it a 7. A solid, mediocre, unoffensive 7.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. All right. I'll go with a 1.
All right.
Catch us next week, folks. Catch us next week, folks.
Yeah.
We'll be around until the end of the show or until the end of the world. Corny exit. Terrible. Ugh.
I'd rate it a 7 out of 10.
Just on the ending.